Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm waving through a window.
She's back, everybody! And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where we have returning producer Brianna Jones!
Yes!
Play some celebration music! We've missed you so much!
What an episode to return on.
I know. We forced you to see this movie in theaters. How are you, Bree?
I'm good. I forced my little brother to see this with me, and immediately he rolls his eyes and goes, "Are you serious?" So,
on that note, cue the music, Bree.
I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I got nothing to share, no, I got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned.
So, Dear Evan Hansen is a movie with music by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul and lyrics by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, with a screenplay by Stephen Levinson. It is based on the musical Dear Evan Hansen and opened in theaters in the United States on September 24th, 2021. The plot of the film is, all of his life, Evan Hansen felt invisible. But when a tragic event shocks the community and thrusts him into a center of a rapidly evolving controversy, Evan is given the opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to be somebody else. And if that isn't the most bullshitty ass, stepping around the problem plot description I've ever heard, I don't know what to say. So, we're going to be talking about the movie version of Dear Evan Hansen. This is going to be a companion piece and sequel to our original episode on Dear Evan Hansen, which came out in December of 2018, so nearly 3 years ago. So in that time, have our opinions really changed on the show? How did we feel about the adaptation to film? And a lot of other things, that's going to be discussed here. And I think one of the more interesting things is Brianna Jones, our wonderful returning producer, has never seen the stage show and just saw the movie. So she's going to give us a fresh-eyed opinion on just the film and whether it worked and whether the changes they did were really effective. So how about we just start off with what is Dear Evan Hansen? Andrew, give us that.
Dear Evan Hansen is a recurring nightmare that I have every couple weeks. Oh, Lord. I don't even know what to do here. Should I explain the plot? I feel like we've done that.
We've done that.
We already have an episode on Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
I feel like most of our people that watch us know about our opinions on Dear Evan Hansen.
If you listened to last week's episode, we basically did a preemptive episode on Dear Evan Hansen.
Dear Evan Hansen is a show about a anxious high schooler,
in theory,
who gets caught up in a series of, I guess what you would probably refer to as white lies about how he was friends with another high schooler who had committed suicide.
And then he basically becomes replacement value for that high school in all their lives, or high schooler in all their lives.
Well, yeah, but that's more thematic stuff. Just in the plot, he joins this richer family in some senses, and eventually everything is revealed, and it's that kind of story. Everyone knows this type of story where there's a liar, and eventually all the lies come out, and then the story ends.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bree, you've heard us for months and months and months talk shit about this musical. You've heard us describe the plot, and now you finally got to see what Hollywood would do with this musical. How does it compare to how we described it?
Ooh, I think the root of your guys' argument of the story itself is bad. Like, the root of the problem is bad, and Evan is not a likable character, and I think that translates from stage to screen. They changed some things that I've heard you guys talk about. And
they tried to make Evan more likable, and I think in some senses they did succeed.
I don't think they tried to make him more likable. They tried to make him less hateable. I think that is more.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate, because they didn't change his personality or anything necessarily. They gave him some more redeemable actions and they gave him more outs for the things that he does as well, which I actually don't really like. They push off a lot of his, and I might be remembering wrong in the stage show, but they push a lot of his actions off onto other characters. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I might have to explain that better as well if that doesn't make sense.
No, that makes sense. And we're talking vagaries right now because we're not really going into the conversation of the movie quite yet. They take away, like, there's a moment in the movie or in the musical where he openly kisses a woman without her consent and she runs away
It's probably the worst thing that he does in the show.
Yes.
And they take that away. In the movie, it just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of criticism of our original Dear Evan Hansen and our continuous Dear Evan Hansen takes about how we don't get the show, or we just don't like it because the main character does bad things, and we're like moral Puritans who can't handle when bad things appear on screen. And I have to say I fundamentally disagree wholeheartedly. And I listened to our original episode, and I will say, I don't think we were clear with our criticisms.
Which ones do you think we were less clear about? Because it did sound a little bit like, this is bad because he bad person, sometimes.
Yes, and I think it's because we don't talk enough about the framing of the show, and the message of the show, and
the audience of the show.
And even different lenses you can look at the show through, morally. And I think we focused more on as if it was self-evident, like the framework we're looking at it through was self-evident, but I think it wasn't. And I think that our assumption that it was makes it seem like we're just saying, oh, he did a bad thing, obviously bad show.
And dubious characters and unlikable characters can lead to very good shows. That does not make a bad show.
Yes.
It does not make a bad story. It is the framing, the point of view, the way that things are being used, and the way that the story wants you to feel. The emotional manipulation of the story is the issue here. What
is the character arc of a character like Dear Evan Hansen? What is being learned? What is the audience supposed to take away from the show? There's all these sort of nuances to it that we didn't really get into because I think we felt like it was too self-evident. And I think we were clearly wrong.
Drive the winding country road, grab a scoop at Alamos, and then we're there. An open field that's framed with trees. We pick a spot and shoot the breeze like buddies do. Quoting songs by our favorite bands, telling jokes no one understands except us two. And we talk and take in the view. All we see is sky for forever. We let the world pass by for forever. Feels like we could go on for forever this way. Two friends on a perfect day.
I want to start by talking about the composers, Pasek and Paul. Really quickly, I want to go through their history. So, they both went to the University of Michigan, and they got their start because they wanted to be actors, so they're trying out for all the possible musicals, and every year they're just not getting roles. Then their senior year, they want to be in City of Angels. It's not really a dance-heavy show, so they feel like they're shoo-in. They get 2 ensemble roles, which barely do anything. So they basically storm away like Bender from Futurama, like, fine, we'll do our own musical with, like, hookers and blackjack.
Yeah.
So they write in, like, as quick a time, they get all the actors that weren't cast in City of Angels, and they throw together a song cycle called Edges. And that was an unprecedented success. They have one performance and one album, and that album goes everywhere. That album basically is like Evan Hansen's You Will Be Found speech. It spreads everywhere. And opportunities come from that. Like, I read the book, and they don't describe how these opportunities come up, but they just say, from that, they got a meeting with Steven Schwartz, who just fresh off Wicked, and meetings with Avenue Q lyricist Jeff Marks. And in that discussion with Jeff Marks, they're like, well, after we graduate, I plan to go to New York and, work jobs. And he's like, here's $7,000. Just keep writing music. And they paid them back the day that they opened their first show on Broadway, which was A Christmas Carol. Now, let's think about all of that for a minute. Their entire career was based on the entitlement that they felt that they should have gotten into a musical, for one. And then all this unprecedented success, all these opportunities that I know so many composers and wannabe composers would never have gotten. And yeah, they produce their own work, and I do like Edges a lot. I think it's a very good song cycle. Who else is getting those opportunities? Because from Edges, they immediately go into Dogfight, which then immediately gets them James and the Giant Peach, which gets them A Christmas Carol, or A Christmas Story. And then from A Christmas Story, they were given La La Land, because they were recommended by a couple people to Damien Chazelle, and then they won Oscars for La La Land. And while they're working on all that,
I just want to say I don't think any of these works are necessarily bad. If that was
no. That it is just the way that they rose up so fast before they were even in their 30s.
Yeah.
That their rise to fame and popularity is not precedented outside of like Andrew Lloyd Webber and Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah.
But after they get their Oscar, they've been working on this other piece that they've been doing this entire time in the background, which they don't have a name for it, aside from like the Dennis Project, which is what they were calling this character. Their original pitch for this was about a family who loses a son and the difficulties with that, and then how an entire school then suddenly claims to know this son. So their original pitch was Evan Hansen or whoever being this outside kid, this boring middle-class, middle-grade student who watches the big popular jock die and then claims to be his secret best friend and then takes the jock's girlfriend and all that. It was much more dark and more like Heathers.
It feels almost more like villainous as well. When it's
is,
framed
which is
that way.
what they were going for. So he's actively taking in, and it's a much more dark comedy. And then halfway through that, they were like, what if we leaned into the sincerity? What if we made this real, except just same actions? And therefore, the jock's girlfriend becomes the kid's sister and all that. And his name was Dennis something or other. And it just grew from there.
Yeah.
And it was based on one of the composers' experience in high school, where one of their fellow peers died of a drug overdose. And from that point, everyone started acting like they were their best friend when they really wouldn't have given them the time of day in real life, which is a phenomenon.
Yeah, I can see that. It's almost a pointed satire in that way, because that is a real thing that does happen, especially with social media, which I think Dear Evan Hansen does try to do that, but I'm not sure if it's as successful as maybe they wanted it to be.
Yes.
But go on.
But I'm going to follow this development even further. They take it to Stephen Levinson, who really fleshes it out and brings the characters to life. But it's obvious from the songs that were written and the book that Stephen Levinson was writing that they were two different things. At this point, one of the most known songs in the show, one of the songs that were written, was called In the Bedroom Down the Hall, about Connor's mother mourning like the relationship and deterioration with her son, as well as Evan's mom singing the same thing, which I think is the most important emotional through line and also frames it as a story about parents and dealing with that and failing as parents.
In the bedroom down the hall, I got your Ninja Turtle nightlights for protection. You used to say they kept the bad guys far away. Remember? In the bedroom down the hall, I surprised you with that comic book collection. Next Halloween, I dressed you up like Wolverine. Remember? With glow stars on the ceiling you could count instead of sheep. I always knew which song to sing to get you right to sleep. Anything to make you happy.
That was one of the only songs written. That and A Part of Me, which was also cut and also very good. But after getting Stephen Levinson, who added like the more dark, the more like sincere side of it, they basically threw away the play they had and focused it on Evan as opposed to the family. At the same time, touring in Book of Mormon, is a gentleman called Ben Platt who just hit superstardom from being in Pitch Perfect. Now, I'm going to bring this up only because he was playing Elder Cunningham, who is a character that gets in a lot of trouble by lying. That is his big character trait. He's nervous, he's awkward, he's all of those things. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of framing. That character is seen as more of a joke and is genuine in his attempts to help people.
Yes.
And you could say Evan is genuine to a point, but I think at a certain point that argument starts to wear thin with Evan Hansen.
Yes, but he was playing this role, and they were like, Ben Platt is the only person for this role. They called him up, sent him some songs, they did a quick reading, and he's like, all right, that's our guy. So they get all this cast together, writing, and it's the first performance before their DC out-of-town tryouts. They put on the performance, and Stephen Levinson, Benj Pasek, and Justin Paul all immediately want to pull the plug after watching it. They say, this is offensive. This is going to get us in so much trouble. This is in terrible taste. We can't put this on. So they go to the producers, and the producers are like, no, fuck you. We have the show set up in DC. We're doing this show. We all like it. And then they went to Ben Platt, who's like, no, this is my star vehicle. We can't pull a plug on this. So they went ahead, despite really wanting to pull the plug and being terrified of what this meant. So they were like trying to rewrite as quick as they...
I'm honestly curious. I just want to make sure, like, where did you get this information? Like, this is accurate?
This is from the book they released about the development of Dear Evan Hansen. I can pull up the title right now.
It almost feels so vindicating for us as like they recognized what we recognized in a way, but it's like you almost need a citation.
It was Dear Evan Hansen waving through a window. It was narrated by Taylor Trench, and it was written by Stephen Levinson, Benj Pasek, and Justin Paul. It's all a bunch of interviews with them describing their process. So, at this point, they're like, we really cannot put this on. The producers are like, too bad. So they're like trying to rewrite this as much as they can in the last minute to try to make this coherent. But the sad part is the cast, the producers, everyone else really like the show. They're really into it. And they feel like, oh, you're giving us a bunch of things. The actors have a lot to chew on. I will admit there's some great moments in there, but I can't help but be them in there, as insecure as they might be, because a lot of artists are insecure and they might just see it as that. They might have had a moment of clarity and saw all the things that we saw and thought about the implications that we thought. And I don't know what this is all going to paint for you guys, but this show is so hard to put on for everyone involved. I'm just doing this for context and to say some kind things up front. Ben Platt, in the original production of Dear Evan Hansen, had to do a lot of work to make that show possible. He had to physically train his body to ingest mucus so that he can cry while he sings. He had to not talk basically anytime he's on stage. And if you think about it, there is very rare moments where he is not on stage. So much that they have to add into his movements and like stage acting drinks so he can get fluid in him. It is a difficult role to play, and I think he does it well on stage. Yeah. That being said, the show is bad and I hate it.
Dear Evan Hansen, we've been way too out of touch. Things have been crazy, and it sucks that we don't talk that much. But I should tell you that I think of you each night. I rub my nipples and start moaning with delight.
Why would you write that?
I'm just trying to make it erotic.
Look, if you can't take this seriously...
calm yourself, honey.
I just want to get this over with.
I put on Twitter that, please, people who love Dear Evan Hansen, tell me what you think the message is. And a lot of people wrote in, and I'm going to let Andrew take it away from here.
Sure. I think the two biggest ones that we got a lot of is it's about grief. And people cite the song Requiem, which I agree that song is about grief.
And very well done about grief.
Yeah, and I'm not even disagreeing there. And I think that there are a lot of elements of the show that are about grief. However, I have to disagree with the entire show being about grief. Evan Hansen himself is not actually experiencing grief of really any form throughout the entire show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jess, do you disagree with that?
I would say maybe during words fail.
Maybe like secondhand grief?
Yeah, like...
But I don't think the argument that the entire show is about grief and it handles that really well makes
Alice
that
by
much
Heart
sense.
is more about grief than this show is.
Yes. And so I have to disagree with that interpretation right off the bat. The other one we got a lot of was, and I'm not even sure how to say it, it's like the "you are not alone," which I also fundamentally disagree with. I do not think that this show is about not being alone.
The song "You Will Be Found" is basically "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." The words are hollow, they're meaningless, they're generalities so that he won't get in trouble. It's a big lie that anyone can glob meaning onto.
Yes. And honestly, at a certain point, the show is explicitly about how sometimes you are alone. In that, like, Connor genuinely was alone. Like, nobody really liked him. You know, like, that was genuine. That wasn't just, like, a feeling that he had. That was genuine.
Okay. The next thing we heard a lot of was anxiety, mental health, self-hate, all of that stuff.
Yes. I do think that the show is about that to a certain point. But and there's a big but, I don't think it's framed in a positive way at all. Almost every conflict in the show arises because of the mental health issues the characters are experiencing.
Let me say this. It blames the actions on them rather than frames it as a person with this. Someone brought up recently, if this show is so much about mental health awareness, why don't we ever see Evan's psychiatrist? His psychologist. Why don't we see his therapist? Why is that not a character? It is the framing for the story of this, which is he wrote a letter on his fucking laptop to give to his therapist. We never see that therapist. Did he tell his therapist about what he was doing? What kind of advice would a therapist tell in that situation?
Yes.
It is non-existent. This show is not about mental health if we're not seeing his mental health professionals or hearing about the medications taking, or it's just an excuse for a story.
Yes. There's also other characters that are experiencing mental health issues, and it's always framed as a motivator for their bad actions.
Yes.
Such as, you know, Connor, of course, which, and what is her name? Alana,
yeah.
Both of which are framed as obviously bad because he drives the conflict with Connor, and Alana is overcompensating for her mental health problems and trying to abuse the situation to gain more clout for herself. So I don't think it's a positive framing at all for mental health or mental health awareness. I mean, I'm sure some people disagree with me on that, but I fundamentally don't agree with that message.
I mean, okay, then there's the other pitch. It's about social media and the relationship of grief in social media. Because most people don't bring up, waving through a window is not about like looking out. It's about looking at a phone. The window is your phone. Social media, so isolating. Oh, boomers.
Yeah, the social media stuff is so slapped on and undirected. I fundamentally no. I just do not agree with this interpretation either. I think that all of these are like takes that take into account small aspects of the show that you can latch onto as like it did this well, but it does not look at the show as a whole. The show as a whole is not about social media. There are certain parts of the show that are about social media. That is not the general takeaway, though.
I know we're framing this as we're talking about the movie. I will argue that the movie talks more about social media than the stage show ever did.
Yes. There was the one good interpretation, I don't actually have it up, that I saw, and I do genuinely agree with. And Jess, do you have that up? Could you
I'm digging. You keep talking. You vamp. I'll find it.
Well, if I remember it correctly, it's that the show is about self-hate.
Yes.
Connor does what Evan Hansen tried to do. And
Yes.
Evan Hansen has to confront the people that he would not have had to confront if he had succeeded. And he tries to basically justify his own actions to those grieving people and to himself. Connor is a stand-in for Evan Hansen had he gone through or had been successful with his own suicide attempt. And the entire show is framed in that way. And that one I genuinely do agree with.
That was from Himli Jai Dun.
Yes, and
forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly.
I think that is a good take, and I think that is a good way to look at the show. My only real problem with it is that there are other aspects of the show that don't really tie into that and aren't very good. And the main one I want to throw out there is the relationship between Evan Hansen and Zoe. Which does not tie into that theme at all.
Nope, it's just creepy.
Is just creepy and bad in basically every way. And I would also throw out there that if you take that interpretation into account, it actually makes the relationship even worse and even creepier.
I agree.
So basically, even in what I would consider the best interpretation of this show, there is still stuff in it that is so not good and uncomfortable that I still can't see the show as being good.
No. And the movie does not fix enough of those issues to make it interesting. It is a step in the right direction, but sadly, it mostly makes it more boring.
Oh, and the movie has another angle that I don't remember being in the stage show that I have to bring it up.
How about we move on to the movie and talk about how the meaning changes from the stage show into the movie?
Sure.
That sound good?
Yeah.
I could curl up and hide in my room, here in my bed, still sobbing tomorrow. I could give in to all of the gloom, but tell me what for? Why should I have a heavy heart? Why should I start to break in pieces? Why should I go and fall apart for you? Why should I play the grieving girl and lie, saying that I miss you and that my world has gone dark without your light? I will sing no requiem tonight.
Okay, Bree, you've watched the movie. From what you saw, what would the message that you think the movie's trying to impart to an audience?
Oh God, a message.
I mean, what did you get out of it?
Yeah, that doesn't have to be that deep.
I don't think I got anything out of it, right? I really don't. Like I said earlier, like the base of the story, like this young man telling a family, like he knew their kid,
right,
and just all of it felt very, I don't know, artificial to me. Like it didn't feel real. I see the aspects of like grief and like dealing with grief and dealing with anxiety and depression, and I saw that sprinkled through the movie, and I saw things that people could latch on to that could be relatable and likable, but I didn't necessarily get a message from it.
Yeah, and I feel like the messages that could have been there from the musical and ones we agree with, I feel like Evan doesn't hate himself very much in this movie. It's also adds a lot more of the mental health side. We see the medication he's taking. He's on
Yes.
Wellbutrin and stuff. That adds a different element. And also, this movie wants to let him off the hook a lot more.
A lot. They give other characters the blame for a lot more stuff than what they do in the show. And it's knowing the show and knowing why they did it makes it feel more uncomfortable than it probably would if you just saw the movie and only the movie.
Right. Like, I'm cringing through scenes because of some of their changes, because I know what it used to be, and I could just see the screenwriter being like, oh,
gotta fix this. Gotta fix this.
Yeah, because you guys... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we can give some examples. Why don't we give a few examples? I think there's like 3 examples, maybe?
I'll start. The first one, of course, is his relationship with Zoe, which we brought up previously. At the song where he's like singing the song If I Could Tell Her, which is basically him describing his own feelings for Zoe, but framing him as Connor's, which just kind of makes it sound like he wants to fuck his sister. Not to call back to an episode that's happening next week, but that's fucking weird.
Yes.
Yes. But at the end of it, he like gets so wrapped up into it, he kisses her, misreading the whole situation while he's sitting on Connor's bed.
Yes.
Yes. She immediately is like, I'm going to my room. Tell my parents I'm not coming down. And then we don't see them together until after You Will Be Found. And she says the line that's still in the movie, what the fuck was I saying? I'm sorry.
It's like, you gave me back my brother or something like that.
Yeah, you gave me my brother back. And then they just start hardcore making out. And that's the end of Act 1. And here they turned it into a friendly hug, like comforting here. In the movie, he does not try to kiss her. They just kind of end that moment happy, and she gets to enjoy the moment with her brother.
I would say I think they do kind of lean in a little bit for a kiss, but then the door opens and the parents come in.
It seemed consensual, and that seems like a progress of the relationship. That is a screenwritery thing. And then instead of them making out, they have Zoe making the first advances onto Ben.
So now it's no longer Evan's idea for this relationship, even though Evan was really the one who wanted it from the beginning.
Yes, they take away his motivation and action toward it.
So now instead of saying like, oh, well, he continued these lies to get this girl, now you can't really say that because, well, technically Zoe was the one who wanted the relationship in the first place.
And there's a lot of insert shots of Zoe texting him first and all that.
Yes, so they're trying to push the blame off of Evan and onto her.
Zoe's advances.
Yes, and I think another good example is the origin of the lies, and this might have been in the stage show. The mother is very heavily leading him through it. I don't remember it that much in the stage show, but it might have been there. I could be just misremembering it.
Bree, I want to talk to you a little bit about parents because it's going to tie back into this a little bit. Which of the parents did you feel like you knew more about? Evans or Connor's?
Oh, Evans.
Really, Evans?
That I felt
The
like
mother? Evan's
I felt
mother?
You felt like she was the more dynamic performance between the two of them?
I think I didn't believe
Amy Adams?
I didn't believe Amy Adams'
So it's a performance thing for you.
performance.
I would
Okay.
say that the movie does focus more on the Connor family, although
It
Yeah.
does. But I don't feel like I actually got to know them in any way. A little bit. Like they have this scene where
they don't really have a huge like character.
No. But the thing is, in the musical, they were nothing. But the Evans' mom is in it significantly more, and the actress Rachel Bay Jones won a Tony deservedly for that role. She killed it.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I feel like the mother is a nothing character.
Yeah, I mean, she's not in the movie a lot, but I think the reason why I say, like, I can, I guess, relate to her more is, like, I understand, like, she's a single mother, you know, working her ass off to take care of her kid. And I think that's more relatable than Connor's parents and their performance. I don't know.
Yes. They do rely a lot on Amy Adams to do legwork for the story, which was in the musical, but nowhere near as much, where she's like, yes, tell us about XYZ giving you the answers, but she has to try to do it as convincingly as possible, where she's just cutting off and basically feeding the story to Evan, which does happen in the musical, but nowhere near as intense, and that might just be the benefit of close-ups.
It's true.
But that takes a lot of the blame off Evan, where he's just kind of like repeating back to them instead of making things up wholesale, which was closer to what he did in the musical.
She also is the reason that he does the speech at the memorial.
Yes, that was something that originally he just decided to do because of glorification, where she had to twist his arm into it in the movie.
Yes, twist his arm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. They also give it a Hollywood ending, I want to say. And I thought about this a little bit.
Okay.
So in the original one, it just kind of, the lies are revealed, and then it kind of goes to Evan's house with his mother, and then eventually it cuts to like a year later, and he meets up with Zoe, and that's about it. Like that's kind of how it ends. In this one, they add a whole thing and a whole new song by Connor, and they add Evan doing all this research and everything. And I want to talk a little bit about the liar revealed story structure and how I feel that usually works. I'm not like a critic or analyst, but this is how I feel the liar revealed structure usually works. The guy lies for a long time about something. It gets revealed, they go away, and then they come back and save the day, right?
Yes.
Lowest
point moment coming back.
Yeah. So the lowest point moment is the lie is revealed, but then eventually he comes back and he actually saves the day for real. Evan Hansen never had that moment in the stage show. He never comes back and saves the day in the stage show.
Yeah, he doesn't, what's the word? He never gets forgiven. He never does the work.
Yeah. So they added the Hollywood ending. He comes back and he saves the day. They add, after the lie is revealed, he does all this research and reads all the books Connor liked and actually learns about Connor and actually finds a video of Connor playing music, which they set up as a thing that he did and no one ever saw him do. And then he sends
I knew that was going to be a plot point because I'm like, okay, she wouldn't just say that shit.
Yeah.
That line that 100% was not in the movie.
And then he sends the video to the people that he had lied to.
Can I put a pin in this tangent right here and talk about the thing that's fucking unethical as shit. For one, they a video recorded of him playing guitar and singing in rehab that he could this guy could just get. On the second, Connor was very clear that he didn't want to play his music in front of his parents ever. Like, that was something that was said earlier. And now, after he's dead, well, fuck you, Connor. Your parents earned this.
Well, I'm kind of okay with it because, you know what, Connor destroyed that family. So if Evan needs to send them a videotape of him to save it, whatever.
I feel like we've been ignoring Connor's wishes throughout the entire show, and then that's just one more nail in that coffin.
Sure. I you can take that either way. I would take it as the writers genuinely trying to give him a moment of actually helping the family with something or actually giving them some closure. So it's him coming in and saving the day in a way. It's the liar coming back and helping for real, So that's my concept of that they gave it the Hollywood ending. I don't know if you agree with that.
As someone who hasn't seen the Broadway production, how does it end?
It's the same bench conversation without that. It's just like he goes for words fail, like I'm sorry, and then gets kicked out of the house.
The mother sings the big song, and then he goes to the bench in the park and meets with Zoe.
He's like, "Why didn't you tell everyone?" And my parents are like, I don't know. I forgive you, though. Oh, thanks. And the show. That's the show. Like, the show's over.
The part where Evan reveals to everybody that he was the real, like he lied to everybody. He doesn't do that either. No.
Yeah, he never sends it to Instagram or anything. He gets to keep it a little secret forever.
Yeah, which is why when, in the original episode we said, well, he never gets his comeuppance because he genuinely doesn't. And people pointed to the one song which they cut from the movie where his friends get mad at him as that is his comeuppance. No, it's not. His friends aren't mad at him for the thing that he did. They're mad at him for having a girlfriend.
No, at that point they were mad at him for getting him into this.
Something like that.
They all kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, new songs. Connor had that new song. Let's talk about Alana, who is character assassinated in this movie, in my opinion.
Well, she's much, much, much nicer than I remember her being.
She was very intense in the musical, where she's like this very overachieving kid and always trying to jump to the front of it. Like, she's like, I will be co-presidents with you, Evan. Sorry, Jared, co-president is taken. Like, it's very much like kid that wanted to be the head of student council, overachieving and all that, and trying to get it. However, she's framed as kind of dumb in like a social way, in a way where she's just kind of she's a joke in the musical. She's very much a joke in the stage show. Where here in the movie, they're both trying to make her the moral compass and the villain.
Yeah, she's the one who releases the thing, which she did do. I think she did do that also in the show.
Okay, but framing. We talk about framing a lot. In the musical, Evan is like, don't show it to anyone, don't do this. Where in the stage show, he's like, hey,
in the movie,
here you go.
You mean in the movie he says that?
Yeah, in the movie, he's like, don't show it to anyone, and it's like held on this very big thing where she understands it. Where in the musical, she's like, yeah, he sentenced me, I put it everywhere, it would get us more money. It felt like a logical decision based on the character we set up. Where this feels like an intentional, like, mean thing that she's doing to earn more money because she wants more money.
Yes.
She's an overachiever.
It is basically, yet again, the blame being taken from Evan and being put onto a different character.
Yes. Once again. And she has this song called The Anonymous Ones, because the accent is on the wrong syllable. And then she does a reprise of that later when she does the deed. That song replaces Disappear, which is a song where Connor's ghost comes to Evan and was like, can you please keep doing this because I don't want to be forgotten? Which is a fine motivating factor and a good used stage technique, in my opinion. Yeah, they're puppeting his corpse around, and it's not the character, but it is effective in explaining why Evan is doing these things.
Yeah, because it's basically Evan. It's Evan talking to himself, but they can't do that on stage. They use Connor for it, and also with the interpretation of Evan is Connor, like symbolically, it works in that way as well. So.
And Connor is the one that makes Evan deal with the fact that he tried to kill himself in the same way.
Yes.
Like, Connor's the one that makes Evan come to terms with that. I don't quite remember how he's forced to come to terms with that in the movie at all.
He kind of
is it just
doesn't?
Flash? Yeah. It's not something he had to convince himself he didn't do or did do or whatever.
Which takes me to the point that I want to make.
Let's go.
Okay, class politics, right?
Oh, here we go. Bree. I think you know where this is going, because fuck.
Okay, good lord. The movie is about class much
more than the stage show.
Much more than the stage show. Okay, so Evan is from a poor family. Connor is a rich family. They make that very clear, both in how the houses are set up, what the outside of the houses look like, what the insides of the houses look like. They literally, in the movie, have scenes later on where people are antagonizing Connor's family for being rich. So Evan is basically a poor person joining a rich family by lying to them. And
now, this is an element of the stage show. Like,
yes,
all the things that happen there. It's the visual use and additional lines.
But what is the final takeaway that Connor gets? What is in the last scene? You know, Connor goes through and he learns from his mother, who is always working, constantly working.
You mean Evan?
Evan. Evan. What does Evan learn from this? Evan's mother, who is constantly working, always overworked, never there for him because of work, trying to take care of him. And his mother eventually shows up at the Murphy house and is like, oh no, we don't take handouts. We don't do any of this stuff. And then Evan is trying to go to college and she's like, you need to work hard and get a scholarship. You need to do all this. And the Murphys are like, oh, we'll just give you the money, like whatever. But then, you know, he can't take the handout. So what does Evan learn at the end? We go to the park scene, and what is the last thing we see in the fucking movie? The very last scene is him telling Zoe that he's going to go to college because he's going to get a job and work hard for it.
That's also in the stage show. That is also in the stage show.
It's fucking just bad.
Yeah.
It's literally pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Why aren't you working hard? Why aren't you more like your mom? Your mom's always working. You need to work harder. You're trying to join this rich family, like lying to them. These rich people earned their money. You need to earn your money.
However, like, another thing that was very prevalent in the stage show that's still in the movie but barely is that Connor's mom, Amy Adams in the movie, is really into like yoga and weird gurus and all that. You know, kind of like that one girl from Beetlejuice that's like really talking about like crystals and stones. And there's like 2 or 3 throwaway lines like, "Oh, she got us cake that's vegan or whatever."
Yeah, she's always in a new fad.
Yeah, but Amy Adams is just a normal person. Like, she's not like this crazy guru hungry, I'm so rich I don't know what to do with my life thing.
So I get the takeaway that the movie, and probably the show, but I didn't remember it, but the movie I took away very heavily, inverse Parasite. You know Parasite, the movie that won the award, and it's
the
a
best
foreign
picture.
film?
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Really good movie. And it's about how a poor family lies to a rich family, and then they learn that this rich family is exploiting them, and eventually the poor family like kills the rich family or whatever.
Spoilers for Parasite, I guess.
For Parasite, I guess. But it's important. You have to know what it's about. It's the reverse of that. It's the poor family lies to the rich family, and what we're supposed to take away, actually, is that the rich family is the one in the right. The poor family, like, Evan is a poor person, and he needs to learn his place. He needs to learn to work hard and not take handouts and not try to join a rich family by lying to them. He needs to work hard like his mom does. His mom always works, and she's noble. I mean, she's literally working the whole fucking movie. We never see her. So, you know, and it just feels shitty. And because they took away so much of everything else that was in it, that was kind of the only takeaway that I feel like you can even get from the movie.
Okay. I think we need to put a pause on this because I feel like we're getting too angry.
Are you kidding me? I didn't even do the incest thing yet.
We'll bring that up. We got a second half to this episode, Andrew.
Okay.
We need to cool off and take a quick break and think about what the wonderful critics over at Letterboxd thought of this movie.
He thought it looked pretty cool when you put indigo streaks in your hair. And he wondered how you learn to dance like all the rest of the world isn't there. But he kept it all inside his head. What he saw, he left unsaid. If I could tell her everything I see. If I could tell her how she's everything to be. But we're all million worlds apart, and I don't know how I would even start. If I could tell her.
It's time for Bree Views with Bree back. Where right, we got Bree back, and we get to do this new game. We're so happy. So Bree and Andrew, we're gonna play a game of Bree views, where I'm gonna read Andrew a review, and you guys have to guess whether it's 1 star or 5 stars. It could be either. It's either 1 star or 5 stars, nothing in the middle. And I'm gonna read just the review to you, and you have to tell me whether. Andrew, you're up first.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the review on Letterboxd is literally the word I''M. What? How many stars did they give Dear Evan Hansen?
That is a 1 star. They saw Ben Platt's face in the first scene and they shut it off.
Okay, that ding, ding, ding. You got it. You got it. That was a 1 star review. All right, Bree, it's your turn. You can take this all away. All right, this one is in full. The guy who kills himself has the same name as me. 5 stars or 1 star.
Representation.
Connor representation.
Okay, I'm going 1 star.
All right. 5 stars.
Oh, damn it.
I would have guessed 5 stars, honestly, if you gave me that.
It's okay. It's okay, Bree. You can still win it back. Matt bombed in, but you might still be able to. All right, Andrew, are you ready?
Oh, yes.
You could watch this movie without the visuals, and it would make 0 difference, if not improve it.
Well, that's a 1 star.
That was a 5 stars.
How the fuck is that a 5 star? That was a negative. They're basically saying that, or maybe they're saying it's good, but the visuals are bad.
I think they're like, oh my god, you can just tell the story based on the sounds and the music.
Like the audio design was so good. Sound design.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was really loud.
Yeah, it was. It sounds terrible. All right, Bree, it's your turn.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
This one is, hello, this is me, Evan Hansen speaking.
This is the Zodiac speaking.
Okay, I'm gonna go
no,
with
he can't speak. He's
1 again.
What was that?
I'm gonna go with 1 again. It was probably a 5.
That was 1.
Ding, ding, ding.
You got it. You got it. All right, Andrew, you're up next. I think
All
you're
right.
tied now,
We're
1-1.
tied. Yeah.
Okay, this one, just 2 words. Words fail.
I feel like the only way that would be a 5 star is if they accidentally put 5 stars. So I have to guess 1 star.
That's a 5 star.
God, they accidentally put 5 stars, didn't they?
I can't tell you. I can only read the review and tell you their rating.
How do you write the review? You say words fail and then 5 stars.
All right, Bree, your turn.
Okay.
BRB heading to the nearest apple orchard.
Oh Lord.
5 stars.
That was a 1 star.
What
The
did it
implication
mean?
was that they were gonna try to jump off an apple tree.
Yeah, Andrew got it.
I also want to say that the idea that he fell out of an apple tree and broke his arm, it's like fucking apple trees are so short.
Who said he was in an apple tree?
No, he wasn't an apple tree when he fell out. That was just an apple orchard that they went to. They're
No,
unrelated
but
things.
his family thought that he was in an apple tree.
Did they?
No, they
Oh,
thought he
he
was in
said
an apple
yes.
orchard.
I know what Andrew's talking about. In the fantasy world, in the
Yeah.
For Forever lie.
Yeah,
Oh.
in the lie that he went to the apple orchard and climbed a tree and fell out and
yeah.
broke his arm.
We just need one Andrew. Wait a second, you're still... Take me to that fucking apple tree that's that big.
Yeah, it's a fucking apple tree. Maybe you could break your arm falling out of it. Maybe you definitely couldn't die. You'd have to land on your head and like break your
trees in an
neck.
apple orchard.
No, there's not.
It's mostly apple trees, I'd be willing to bet, but I don't know.
I'm
I've never
around
been to an apple orchard.
a lot of apple orchards. They do not have other trees. It's just apple trees.
We've got a lot of reviews to go. Come on, we gotta keep going.
All right.
All right. Is it Bree's turn?
No.
No, it's my
Andrew,
turn.
'cause I
Okay.
just got the apple orchard one wrong.
Okay. This one, it says, we need to bully theater kids more.
1 star.
That is correct.
Sick. I wrote that one, so that's how I knew.
Okay. Bree, your turn.
Okay.
The inner machinations of Evan's mind are an enigma.
5 stars.
1 star.
Motherfucker.
Inner machinations of my mind are an
enigma. All right, Andrew, are you ready?
Yeah.
This is bad.
I mean, 1 star.
5 stars. All right, Bree.
Christ. They keep putting 5 stars for bad reviews. I don't even know.
I don't know. I'm telling you what Letterbox is. You ready?
Yes.
I just read this one. Amy Adams' character just wanted to fuck Ben Platt the whole movie. Also, the stepdad is hot. Heart emoji.
5 stars.
That was a 1 star.
What?
Okay, Andrew,
His
you're ready.
dad was hot, though.
He was very attractive.
He was very attractive.
He likes baseball.
He
Just
does.
anytime
he
I
does.
think back to the movie, I just think of Amy Adams with 1 tear coming down her face.
You know,
And
Evan,
that
it's
is accurate.
It's not always about Connor. It's about the Mets, baby.
Sorry. That was really funny, Andrew. All right, Andrew, yours. Why did Amy Adams want to fuck a teenage boy who was pretending to be her dead son's best friend?
She didn't, but 5 stars.
That is right.
Yes!
I think Andrew spends too much time on Letterboxd.
He wrote these reviews. Bree,
I
you
wrote
ready?
all of them, yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Too many shots of houses, but I cried hard.
5 stars.
That is correct.
What is this, House the musical?
All right, Andrew. Can't stop thinking about the part at the end when Zoe and Evan are walking through the orchard, and Evan goes, "This is my first time here. Like, King, read the room." What?
Honestly, though, that's like legit. I actually like thought that too. It's like, you really have to bring up the fact that you lied to everybody about how you used to go here? Like, really? Like, really? You think that's what she wants to hear?
All right, what's your rating?
I don't know. 1 star. That's a 1 star.
That was a 5-star. All right.
Of course. You made it to
Bree.
the end of the movie. Of course it's 5 star.
Bree, it's your turn.
Okay, hit me.
For all we know, Evan probably killed Connor.
5 stars.
That was 1 star.
I know.
You know, I feel like it's implied. It's implied that if Evan had just talked to him like a normal person in the library.
Honestly, they do frame it a lot more in the movie like Evan was the final straw. Like, I can't even be this guy's friend. Guess it's time.
It really kind of feels like that. Like, he approaches him and sits at the table and is like trying to talk to him.
They
and
make
Evan,
it so much sadder because it's a cry for help. It is very clearly a cry
it's
for
very
help.
Yeah.
like he's actually trying to be his friend, and Evan's just like he's like too weird to even do it, and then
To have a
it's like-
conversation.
and I kind of don't want to blame them for that, but at the same time, it's there. Like, it's very easy to read that from that scene.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. It's Andrew's turn, right?
Yeah,
Okay. This one is Death is Only the Beginning. Full review.
1 star. 1 star.
5 stars. All right,
Fucking
Bree.
Christ.
You ready?
Yeah.
I gotta pull myself together. Chris Pratt killed an Italian man in 2008 and GT away with it.
What? What?
Can you read that again?
Chris Pratt
Yeah.
killed an Italian man in 2008 and got away with it.
Mamma mia.
And that Italian man was Mario.
It's a me. Mario.
I'm gonna go with
That's not the voice.
Come on, Bree.
5 stars.
That is correct. Y'all are tied
damn.
again.
God damn, the new Mario movie's gonna slap.
All right, Andrew. This one might be a gimme, but
All right.
I think it's important that you hear this. Not since Mark Cohen in Rent has a white man's inability to perform a simple task caused so much damage in the lives of others. Evan Hansen is literally a monster, and this is a horror movie. You made Amy Adams cry. Fuck you. My favorite part of this movie was Requiem. It was actually beautifully shot and super powerful, and not having to see Ben Platt's face was great.
I mean, I agree with almost everything in there. Yeah, that's obviously 5. No, it's 1 star. That's a 1 star.
That's correct. All right, this is our last question.
Okay.
And with 500 points, no, Bree, it's all on you. You could tie this up and make it an even game.
Okay.
Okay. A piece of art to finally challenge the room. Truly a masterpiece in cringe comedy. Nathan Fielder could never.
1 star.
Ooh, that
It
was
was
5
5.
stars.
I know,
So
I
Andrew
know.
DeWolf, you are the winner of Bree Views today. Welcome back, Bree. We've missed you so much.
Your prize is losing this game.
We love you to death, though. So glad you're here. On that note, how about we go into a mid-show announcement and then we talk more about Dear Evan Hansen? Hey folks! Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Patreon is this wonderful place where you get a ton of free crap by paying us. So I guess it's not really free if you think about it. We currently have a weekly podcast where I talk about musical theater. Recently, we just did Co-op, and everybody's talking about Jamie. So many fun things there. You get the video versions of these episodes, so you can see the really awesome turtleneck I'm wearing right now. I look very, very good. Tell them, patrons. And you also get a lot of commentaries that me and Andrew do. There's a lot of fun stuff up there, and if you're not there, you're missing out. And also, you get to hang out with us. Once a month, we have a Patreon hangout where people that pay $10 or more get to hang out with us and play games with a bunch of guests. Princess Weeks and Brent Black have joined us in the past, so come join us there. Our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Terry Needleman, John Donna, Leighton Ackles, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Tess Skier, Fire of September, Monica Thoreau, Mina Maniri, Brent Black, Haley Murray, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Carrie Ahern, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Rusk Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Tablam, Kyle Summers, Jen A.C., Scoot and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Felice A., Liz Lim, Alton Stoller, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, John Vanals, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Wait in the Wings, Raphael, Martinez Salaz, Robert Benjamin, Rachel T., Jessica T., Cass, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Timothy Keys, Jeffrey Machado, Chris Marcotte, Tumimu Robinson, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Norija, Sebastian Canino, Cinemageddon Reviews, Avon Regan, Lizzie Keynes, Charlie B., Patrick Deering, Julia McLennan, Courtney Schreiner, Joe, Avery Brinson, Marilyn Brown, Mel Cormick, Thomas W., and La Femme Fictionale. They all give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese and keep Bree employed. So please, if you have an extra amount of money to throw it away at us. Also, we have merch on our store. Go buy our merch. We look real cool on it. All right, let's get back to the show, guys.
Spot the girl who stays in motion. She spins so fast so she won't fall. She's built a wall with her achievements to keep out the question. Without it, is she worth anything at all? So nobody can know just what the cracks might show. How deep and dark they go. There are those anonymous ones stuck inside the perfect frame they're faking. All of us anonymous ones who pick themselves apart till they start breaking.
So back to the Dear Evan Hansen movie for a bit. I've noticed that we're nearly an hour in. In fact, I think we just crossed the hour mark right now. And you know one word that we did not say at all?
You know what? I'm glad we avoided it for so long, but I feel like we have to mention it.
We did not bring up how bad Ben Platt looks in this, because that really is not the biggest problem in this film, but it is a big problem. Bree, as someone that never saw the stage show and just kind of know Ben Platt's face, how distracting for you was it?
Very distracting. There were like times like they were getting real close up on his face and you could just like see his like facial hair under his makeup, and yeah, I don't know. It was distracting. Was there rumors going around that they were going to put out a version like de-aging him?
There was
Yeah,
rumors,
was,
but I don't think it was real.
Yeah, that was a parody site.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I had heard about that.
The thing is, it was a parody site, but it was so believable because
Yeah. I mean, after the cat situation.
it's like maybe they really would do that.
I think I said this when I first saw the trailer. The biggest hurdle that the Cats movie had to jump over, but tripped over, was the special effects of the cats and how bad they are. Even with those effects, you could technically make a good movie if the story was compelling and the actors really sold it and the director really worked with them, in my opinion. You could deal with those effects and you'd be like, the effects were bad, but I still felt something.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get past that hurdle. The hurdle in this movie is Ben Platt being as old as he is and then taking measures to try to look younger that only make him look older.
It's like The fundamental problem with the movie, and it always will be the problem with this story, is the story.
Yes.
I think the story is just not a well-executed and well-told story, and you cannot fix that without major, major overhauls. But one surefire way to make that even more noticeable is to make everything around it completely distracting and terrible.
Yes.
So I feel like a lot of the reason why people who did not say the same thing about the stage show are now noticing, hey on, this is like a story written by like a sociopath, or it feels that way, is because visually it just is ugly. It's just ugly. And I'm not saying Ben Platt is like a bad looking person or anything. The fact that he's trying to play someone so young and does not look young is what is ugly about it.
Yeah, and the theatrical actions he took on stage, like hunching his shoulders over and kind of the big fidgeting, like he is the only one acting for the stage while everyone else is acting for the camera and doing a very good job. He just brings every single thing he did on the stage show, whether it should work on film or not, and just does it again.
Yes.
It's not just he looks old. He is a stage, very theatrical performer and tried to replicate it in a film that didn't work.
I also want to put out there, Ben Platt has said, and it sounds very like cocky in a way of him, that the only reason this movie exists is because of him or whatever.
Not even that. The show wouldn't exist the movie wouldn't happen without me, and the show was made for me. So fuck you.
Yes. And that sounds extremely cocky or whatever. I kind of feel like this movie wouldn't exist without him. Like I genuinely feel like this movie was advocated for him
By his father,
and it would not exist were it not for him.
It would have been better without him, and I feel like even he has to agree
You
with
could
that
say
now.
you can say that or whatever, but I feel like it wouldn't have been made. Was anyone really clamoring for Dear Evan Hansen, the movie?
Yes, I will say that this show does have very devoted fans. They get very angry at us. I still get very angry emails about it.
Okay. I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like we have, for the most part, addressed most of what we hear them say. I'm kind of tired of getting constantly harassed about my opinion on Dear Evan Hansen, which I feel like is one of the worst things we've ever covered, but, you know, whatever.
Easily.
You know, because we don't get comments constantly about how We Will Rock You is actually super good and we should appreciate it more or whatever. It's always Dear Evan Hansen. It's just constantly Dear Evan Hansen.
And more recently, Ragtime.
Okay, well, honestly, Ragtime, I didn't even dislike that much. It's just...
I don't think we said anything bad about Ragtime.
I just said that there's thematic stuff in it that I think is problematic and they could fix.
Yeah, and that's the truth here. Dear Evan Hansen, the movie, doesn't work on a fundamental level as a movie. Is there anything that it improved upon, in your opinion, Andrew? Not as like a story to tell, but as entertainment value for a human being.
I feel like getting a better connection with the Murphy family is something that they achieved very well, and I think Requiem is genuinely a good scene.
I do too.
That is well done.
However,
okay,
let's pause there for a second. I want to talk about Requiem and what happens in that scene.
Yeah,
there's
the
a
addition.
moment where Zoe tries to unalive herself. Like, that's legitimately what was happening, in your opinion, right?
She fight clubs, yeah.
She drives 90 miles an hour and then takes her hands off the wheel and just see what happens. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, what is that supposed to say? What are we supposed to take from that? I don't believe the character of Zoe would do that.
Yeah, and I mean, that is a genuine attempt. I mean, that's not like a, you know...
Why is that diminished more than Evan letting go of a tree, her legit suicide attempt that we see in the movie?
I don't think that was a suicide attempt.
You don't
What
think
else
so?
could you describe it? She's going 90. We see the little spitty
Yeah, we
murder
see her going
to
90 with her eyes closed. I mean, what else is going
then
to
she
happen?
takes her hands off the wheel.
I think it was a moment to feel something other than sadness.
Maybe. But it felt like
It's a genuine Fight Club moment.
That's actually pretty neat. I mean, it's a weird addition because anything that isn't in the stage show that is added is always worth me, I think, taking a look at the why there.
I don't exactly know how to feel in that moment. I didn't necessarily feel like it was totally like uncalled for or anything. It does feel like a weird addition that didn't need to be there because they never elaborate on it in any real way.
I think they were just trying to give her maybe more depth into like understanding that she really is sad about her brother.
Maybe.
Well, she's not sad about her brother, though. She's upset that everyone is ignoring her issues with what happened. She's upset that like her mother is just whitewashing Connor, and her father has completely distanced himself from her.
And that's a relatable moment. When people die, you suddenly are like, they were the best person in the world. And imagine if your abuser dies and then suddenly everyone treats them like they're incredible. I wouldn't like that, and I wouldn't know how to feel about that.
Which is why it, and this has always bothered me, is that element of it is so sad and is
So
really
effective.
genuinely good and effective, and they undermine it completely with the whole like, you gave me my brother back and all this shit. And they never really come back to that. After Evan's lies are revealed, they never really give her a conclusion on like, how does she feel about her brother now that it's revealed all of that was bullshit. Like we never see that. Just another thing that the story just does wrong and they don't fix in the movie. So
Yeah. But I don't know why, but we see a lot of suicide attempts in the movie, and that one kind of was like, what?
yeah. I think overall though, the Requiem scene is pretty well done.
That scene is great. I do agree. And the emotions played out.
In the bedroom down the hall, I got your Ninja Turtle nightlights for protection. You used to say they kept the bad guys far away. Remember? In the bedroom down the hall, I surprised you with that comic book collection. Next Halloween, I dressed you up like Wolverine. Remember? With glow stars on the ceiling you could count instead of sheep. I always knew which song to sing to get you right to sleep. Anything to make you happy.
Listen, I need to ask you guys, did you really feel like they were grieving their son? Because
You should have brought this up.
I tried, you guys cut me off.
I would say yes, they are.
Yeah. I mean, not really.
No, okay. I have dealt with a lot of grief this year, and it is like, grief is so dark, and I really feel like there are aspects of it I could see, like the father like emotionally shutting off, and like the mom trying to know more about her, like
She's
in denial, wants to know more about her son that she felt like she didn't know. But like I felt like, and this is me just projecting, but like I would be crushed if I lost a child. Like I would not be able to put on normal clothes. I wouldn't leave my house. Like I've seen that grief in parents. Like my cousin killed himself, and I didn't think it was an accurate representation of what grief really is. I don't know.
No,
it felt very like surface level.
I feel like every aspect of the show is surface fucking level.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, well, he has anxiety. And it's just like, okay, well, he has like surface level symptoms of anxiety or whatever. And it's not really, they don't go deeper with that. And then like, oh, they're grieving. And it's like surface level, like, oh, they're sad. It's like, they never take any of these subjects and really cut in with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know everyone loves Amy Adams, and I think she did a good job, playing the mother and in her role. But like, I don't know, like you raised that son till 18 and you're telling me you didn't know anything about him, and everything just felt so negative, and he was so mean, and I don't know.
Oh, Bree, I'm going to send you, remember that song I brought up in the bedroom down the hall?
Yeah.
You're going to want to listen to that, because that is going to give you everything that you wanted. And they cut it out after like the first reading because they changed the show so much.
Yeah. Like I really felt like this is an 18-year-old, maybe 17, 18-year-old boy who still lives with his parents. Like, yeah, he's got a shitty attitude, but it's still your son. And I feel like to know nothing about them, I don't know. It just didn't seem
real.
It didn't seem real. And you don't get to know Connor or their relationship and his parents' relationship at all. So it's like,
Well, they show that a little bit more in the stage show.
But they do a
Yeah.
lot with a little there. I will say that.
The movie completely cuts it, which I think
Mhm.
is
A
actually
mistake.
Yeah.
a mistake. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that would have helped their case.
I also think having Connor be just like this unambiguous bad person is like super fucking lazy.
Yeah, like there's
on
always
their
a
part.
motivator for people's negative attitudes. And like,
They try to say, and in the movie they do fix it a little bit with like him in rehab and showing the video of that and everything.
yeah, and like this
but, like,
having a
in-
stepfather instead of his real father.
In the
What
stage show, he literally exists as like just basically a villain character or a puppet version that Evan made up.
Yeah.
He was the bully from Doug, as you said in our video.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely feel like that's an accurate description, though. Like in the stage, if I remember in the stage show, he literally has a scene which is in the movie, but it's way longer in the fucking show where he like bullies Evan. Am
Yeah.
I like? Doesn't he like push him to the
He
ground?
does that
or
in the
something?
stage show. I mean, in the
He-
movie.
Does
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he?
he
I
pushes
thought he
him.
yelled in his face. I don't remember.
He yelled in his face, but he also pushed him down after getting the letter.
Oh, yeah, he did.
No, I remember him pushing him down before that, though.
He just kind of ran into him.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember him being like even meaner, and then there was a scene with the family where he's like a total fucking dick to everybody. And it feels like why make this character so unambiguous? Like I don't know.
I am lost in remembering.
Did you soar on an angel's wing?
Will your face keep on lingering in my mind? Oh, hear me now. Oh, hear me now.
Finds a hope in holding on. A part of me won't give up, boy, this ain't gone. A part of me
Wants to share the hurt and heartache that I felt that day when it took away.
a part of me.
Alana put a copy of your speech online on the Facebook page for the Connor Project. People started sharing it, I guess, and now it's everywhere. People from all over the country. Yesterday, Connor had 12 friends on here.
How many does he have now?
1,239.
What happened?
You did.
I think Sincerely Me, which I'm on record of saying was a song I despised in the stage show, is a lot of fun in the movie.
I really like it.
It's fine. They don't do the whole puppeting Connor around thing
No.
as much in this show, so it doesn't feel as gross as it does in the show.
Yeah. And also, I think we see visually as like filmmaking technique that this is such a romanticized version of Connor, where in the stage show it was just kind of, that's Connor. Here it's like fantasy Connor, and very obviously so.
Yeah. So it's a bit better.
Yeah. And okay, are we going to talk about the political correctness, the SJWification of this?
Oh boy, did you just say SJWification?
I'm joking. I'm being insincere, but it feels very cynical to what they did here is more what I'm trying to say.
Do you mean the gay thing?
The gay thing, the additional people of color into the world, like they take Connor's dad and turn him into their stepdad, and they add a whole history. He was just their dad in the stage
I actually
show.
kind of liked that. I thought
like
that
that
was
too.
good.
But it feels so cynical the way that they're doing it, where they take a bunch of white actors and then they're like, who can we make a person of color really quick?
Yeah.
When at its core, it is a film about white people having white people problems. And there's a ton of strategically placed Black Lives Matter posters in the background of a lot of shots.
Reminded me a little bit of like Jagged Little Pill with the
Exactly.
let's throw every hashtag into the movie to make it seem like we care about issues.
Yeah, when it feels cynical. It doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of genuine care or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it because I mean, at its core, it's whatever. I mean, getting those messages out there is fine. But yeah, it is very like virtue signal, kind of like just put it up. Like we don't really care, but like we want it to be there to make people think we care.
What does a poster about Black Lives Matter really affect the story of the Connor family and all that?
Oh, it doesn't at all.
Yeah, so it's just literally window dressing.
Yeah, it's waving
with a political
window.
message.
Oh Lord. But like, I mean, at its core, that's like a nitpick, and it's really
nitpicking.
It's them. You can see the cynicism of it, but at the same time, it's not like a problem with the show.
And what you were talking about was they turned the character Jared gay. They made him a homosexual in the movie, where he was just this weird homophobe incel in the stage show. Where all the gay jokes were there, but they were very malicious and mean. And in fact, when there's just some guy that turns to Connor and says, "Oh, I love the school shooter chic you got there." That was Jared who did that in the musical.
I remember that, yes. It's that one felt pretty cynical, especially because I feel like they did get criticism for that song having the whole I'm not gay, like, you know.
And now it's just kind of a cute thing that a gay kid says.
Yes. Which, again, is not the movie's fault necessarily.
No,
it's us looking at the movie and being like, oh, that was cynical for them to do that. Oh, okay.
Because of, I know, the context of that. Where everyone else, I'm sure Bree went down and was like, okay, that's just a gay kid, and you went with the story, whereas I'm like, the changes you've made shows your cynicism.
Yeah, it shows what you're trying to cover up. Like, it shows that part of you knows that I was right.
It was always fucked up to begin with. That it's them consenting or relenting to us. We won.
Yeah, the movie is basically we won.
The musicals with cheese guys won this round. Because if it was never a problem, why would they have changed it?
Yeah. Can we talk about the incest stuff?
Let's talk about the incest stuff. Let's go.
Ooh.
Andrew,
okay.
I'll let you take charge of the incest.
Okay.
Bree, did you feel any incest watching it?
No.
All right. Andrew.
Well, let me explain.
Was I supposed to?
Allow me
Andrew.
to illuminate. Okay. Evan replaces Connor. This is very obvious. We know this. As the
it's text. It's not even subtext.
Yeah, as the one Twitter user points out, it's literally written on his arm. He is labeled Connor for the entire movie. He goes into the Murphy household, and the mother replaces Connor with Evan. The stepfather replaces Connor with Evan. The sister replaces Connor with Evan and then dates him.
Yeah. So,
maybe a little weird? Am I the only one that gets a little bit of a weird vibe from that? I might be reading into it too far, but I
would
don't
say
know.
that if I Could Tell Her wasn't a song in the show, and if it wasn't like both a consensual romantic moment between them, where in the musical it's like a predatory action by Evan, here it's like, oh, my brother loved me, you're so hot.
Yeah. The stage show I don't think has it as much, but this one has the song. There's and you know what? This is like further onto the cake here. The song about how Connor felt about Zoe. Yeah. But actually, it's how Evan feels about Zoe. And Zoe is like, oh, wow, that's really great. Connor really loved me and thought I was beautiful and, like, really wanted to have sex with me.
Yeah.
And then Zoe is, like, super into that and shows up at his house and is, like, taking the fucking jacket off. And it's like, this just feels
okay, she shows up to his house.
Weird.
And then immediately asked to go up to his room. That was the immediate thing that came out of her mouth. I was like, "Oh no, don't come handy."
It might be even added on to more because of the complete lack of chemistry between the two actors.
Yes.
Which makes it feel even more awkward. But I will say, I thought of that in the theater while watching it. I thought, damn, this gives me mild incest vibes. And I was physically cringing at the scene where she goes up to his bedroom.
I was too. Bree?
I was shocked. You know what? I knew that they get together. I did not see it coming. Like, I went in.
It's out of nowhere, right?
It's out of nowhere.
It's literally out of fucking nowhere.
Like, the moment she says, like, let's go up to your room, I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, I was like, that's really weird.
Well, it's like, it's coming, so you're like, oh my god, are they really just gonna do this right now?
Yeah.
And then they just do. They just do.
Okay, as you said, removing guilt away from Evan, removing action away from Evan. Caitlin Dever, Zoe, is the one that initiates the relationship and says, I like you, and is like, come on, just be with me already. And Only Us is not a song between two people that have been in a relationship for a while. In fact, in the musical, it starts with Evan being like, oh no, you're going to break up with me. And no. And then she's like, just don't talk about my brother every time I'm with you, please. And then that leads into Only Us. This is a love starting song. This is their relationship starting. Her saying, I like you, him saying, I like you too, and ending with a kiss.
Yes.
That changes a lot of the dynamics of what's going on in this song.
It's, the relationship element of this movie, and probably of the show if you really think about it, is definitely the worst element of it.
Yes.
And I think it's what colors the entire show badly for me. It's like every other part of it is maybe forgivable, like the whole lying to a grieving family, the whole like lie running out of control. But then you're straight up lying to this guy's sister and then using that to get laid. Like, isn't that over the line? Like, it's too far. It gets to the point where you no longer can forgive Evan.
But Andrew, she showed up to his house and she initiated the relationship.
Yes, but that makes it worse because now it's like out of fucking nowhere. So now there's like this no chemistry. And I don't know, Ben Platt looks old as shit, and it does not fucking work.
He has more sexual chemistry with Amy Adams. Like that scene when she takes him up to Connor's room and is like straight in the tie. There was
something about to happen here? Yeah, it's like...
that felt more like someone was having a sexual relationship than him and Caitlin Dever.
And Zoe has no motivation to want Evan as a relationship partner. She should see him as like a family figure at this point. He's getting invited over by her parents.
And now let's not say that that's not an impossible way for a romantic relationship to develop. You need to explain it. You need to show it. You need to show the connection, which they don't.
The only song they show between the two of them before the relationship starts is the one where he's talking about her brother and how her brother feels.
I'm going to add one more thing. In For Forever, there is a moment where he's like, we talk about the things where he's like, talk about girls that wouldn't talk to us, and he looks at Zoe, dead ass at Zoe, and we have a close-up of that.
Yeah,
that was gross.
It's very awkward, and I don't know, maybe not everyone sees it this way, but I genuinely feel as though she is being like manipulated in a really harmful way, and it makes it really fucking hard to look at Evan as like a sympathetic character from that point forward.
Now, if you had a young actor playing it, you could really sell the youth side of that.
If you sold the chemistry better.
Imagine if you had a 15, 16-year-old in this role, or at least someone in there like that really sold how youthful the energy is and really kind of connected with like the nervousness of a kid as opposed to the nervousness of a 26-year-old pretending to be a child, which feels
Naruto running all the way around the school hallways and
that's my favorite part where he's like, He also Naruto runs to do his suicide attempt in the trees. He's like really sadly Naruto running all the way up to the tree.
It's faster because it's more aerodynamic, Jess. You wouldn't...
Oh my god. I didn't even touch about the audio shit that bothers me in this movie.
You know, I actually have to say, I think this was your theater. It was not very loud in my theater.
It was so loud in my theater.
It was uncomfortably loud. And I've looked at the actual waveforms because I was able to get a copy of this, and I really want to see like what's going on. And anytime they hit a high note, if anyone knows anything about audio waveforms, if they look like this, rounded on the vertical side, that means it was good, and that's a good usable waveform, whether it's loud or not. If it's flat like this, when you're hitting a note or saying words, that is
peaked. Yeah, it's distorted.
It's peaked, it's clipped, it's terrible. Anytime, like especially during words fail. That is how Ben Platt's audio waveforms look. He is peaking so hard because no one knew how to adjust the audio for song. And I know there are certain audio recorders that can both take the higher decibel and lower decibel, and then you can mix them together. I don't think they did that. The audio sounds terrible. And this is because, as we've said before, they were fucking singing live. Everyone except Julianne Moore, because she was dubbed for some reason.
Why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep doing the
audio sounds like
live
garbage.
Singing? We don't
The mixing
have...
is garbage.
It's a movie. You don't have to do live singing. I don't understand. And even if you do the live singing, go into a studio later and record at the same tempo, and then you can just match it up easily.
Don't you miss a note? Don't even touch the autotune. Just go re-record it. But the thing is, it's Ben Platt's ego, because he was known for snotting and crying through it, and he trained so hard for it. Coming back full circle, it was a difficult role. He had to teach his lungs how to do this. He had to learn how to drain his mucus down his fucking throat every night.
And you know,
so
credit to him for that. I mean, you know, giving a good performance is something. Damn, dude, you did it for the wrong fucking show.
Did he though? He won the Tony though. But in the movie, it just doesn't work, because you can look so rough crying and ugly cry, and if you're in the front of the mezzanine of a Broadway theater, you're good. That looks great. If you're right in there in a close-up, it looks terrible, and I feel bad for him that he's become the meme.
That shot of him crying is literally the most memeable thing since Cats.
Yes. That is enough of a meme. And I know that Ben Platt has to be inconsolable. I'm sure he feels like crap about this. Like, he, without exaggeration, is the punching bag of this movie. When normal people think the movie's bad, they think it's all because of him. He doesn't help it. It's not all because of him.
It's not all because of him, no. But Jesus Christ, it does not help at all. Oh my God. If you're trying to defend this movie, I don't envy you if you're trying to defend this movie, because my God, you have to jump so many hurdles to defend this shit.
The story itself is a hurdle, but could work with the right casting. The casting itself is a hurdle, but could have worked with the right filmmaking. And the filmmaking is just bad. Who would have expected this from the guy that wrote the Rent movie would direct a very bad Dear Evan Hansen movie?
So, some of the restructuring as well, waving through a window at the beginning, I don't think that makes that much sense.
It doesn't, because Bree, for you who don't know, there was an opening number to the stage show called Anybody Have a Map, about Heidi, who is Evan's mom, and Cynthia, who is Connor's mom, and they both have their breakfast together, and you get to see how Connor interacts with his family, which you never see in the movie. You never get a single moment of that in the movie.
The mother literally just exists as like a moral figure for how working hard is good. That's literally like her entire role in the show, in the movie.
In the musical, she's like, I'm really struggling. I know I'm not being a good mother, but what can I do? And this song is about both of them connecting through that, which puts this firmly on the shoulders of an ensemble piece between families. And then we have Evan, who is obviously our main character, and then he gets his I Want song once he gets to school. And here we just start in the I Want song, which is bad. It's edited poorly. Whose idea was it to cut on every tap, but just off the fucking beat?
Yeah.
It looks like garbage. The opening number is terrible. And if you want to play a drinking game while watching this show, take a drink anytime you got a center-framed person walking down a hallway.
Oh my God, they do that so fucking much.
They love their center framing, and I fucking hate center framing. That's just a me thing. If you're not Wes Anderson, don't do it.
I mean, it could work, but like they overuse it. It's like
rule of thirds, bitches.
Oh, good Lord. It's just not a great looking movie.
Nope.
It's not a great sounding movie. And it's a movie version of a show that's already pretty deeply fucking flawed. So,
yes.
I mean, it's just a losing combination. And I think it's no surprise to either of us, I don't think, that the internet is reacting the way they are to this movie. I don't know why it took this movie coming out for people to finally really come around and be like, hey, this story is kind of messed up. Because if anything, the movie actually fixes some of the problems that the stage show has.
I was shocked when I saw the movie, because I read the reviews and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I know what happens in the stage show. And then I saw the movie, and it is so much less bad in the movie.
Yeah, it's like they literally do actually fix some of the problems that we had. But like everyone is like, man, this story is about Evan is a sociopath. That's like the common refrain. And it's like, have you guys seen the stage show? It's way worse. Like, but okay.
Bree will back me up on this. Me and Bree have a mutual friend who, and this is just a view of the theater community, texted me one day and was like, I have an opinion on a musical, but I'm afraid you'll stop respecting me over it. I was like, who do you think I am? Just tell me. She's like, I really hate Dear Evan Hansen. She's like,
you kidding me?
yeah, that was it. And she's like, but theater people love it. I'm like, I'm just as confused as you. I think what happens is people listen to the album, which has some great songs in it. We will agree to that. Like, a lot of the songs
they
really
come
work.
away with the opinion that it's about
A gay
something
kid.
about something that is in literally maybe 2 of the songs.
Yes. If you just listen to the album, I can see why you think this is about grief.
Yeah, it's like, I heard Requiem. That's like an important one, right? That must be a really important song. It's like, no, that's about like secondary characters. Are you kidding me?
I don't think I've ever told you the story of when I first watched Dear Evan Hansen. I feel like I haven't brought this up on
I don't think you
ever
have.
before. So I watched it before the album came out. I think before they even premiered on Broadway. I think I watched a preview performance bootleg months and months before the album came out. And I was like on a Great Comet ride at the time. So I'm like, well, let's see what this is. And I watched it, I'm like, man, that's real fucked up. I didn't hate it. I didn't despise it, because I liked Requiem, and I liked Only Us, and I liked, That's It. And I liked,
That's it.
No, I liked Heidi's song, So Big, So Small.
Yeah.
I liked those 3 moments, and those are 3 very big, very well executed moments, and I would only return to them. And I didn't think about the show that much until after the Tonys, and it got all the great reviews. So this was before an album existed, and I just thought, oh, those 3 moments worked. And then I went on with my life. And then I saw all the acclaim, and I'm like, really, this show? And then as it kept going, I was so convinced that Great Comet and Come From Away were going to sweep. They did not. Great Comet had more Tony nominations than any show except for Hamilton. It was like this.
I honestly cannot believe that this won over Great Comet at all. But even if Great Comet had lost, how did it not lose to Come From Away?
Exactly.
It's like Dear Evan Hansen out of those 3? Are you fucking kidding me?
And we've read so many Ben Brantley reviews where he's like, this is just wants to be this just wants to have what Dear Evan Hansen has, and it doesn't. And what does Dear Evan Hansen have?
Pop songs and really awkward story beats. I mean, I don't really know.
And if you feel seen by Dear Evan Hansen, which I'm imagining more than 0 people do, that's
Here's some
great.
other shows that we can recommend.
There's a lot of other shows we can recommend. Next to Normal handles mental health and stress and dealing with that very well. Find a bootleg without Alice Ripley because she grooms children, but watch Next to Normal. Alice by Heart, which we talked about last week, handles grief in much better ways than Dear Evan Hansen even does.
Yes.
Come From Away handles a lot of ensemble pieces and the relationship between parents and children and all that, and like going through a really rough time and through grief together. That is another good one. There is a lot of other shows that would probably hit the same buttons as you. Superhero by Tom Kidd is an incredible show that has very similar themes to Heidi and Evan's relationship and dealing without a father. That is a really, really good musical and has a similar vocal sound to it. There are so many better options for shows outside of this. And I brought this up before, but I think the show is very damaging, not because of the content within it, because I feel like anyone can make a story about anything, and the initial concept of taking advantage of a death and making it about you is very common. Look at it whenever a celebrity dies. We always try to be like, oh, well, Robin Williams meant this to me, even though none of us fucking knew who Robin Williams was.
What was that movie that you talked about that is about a similar...
World's Greatest Dad. I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
So it's about framing. World's Greatest Dad has virtually the same plot as Dear Evan Hansen. Robin Williams plays a man whose son dies through autoerotic asphyxiation, and then to try to save him an embarrassment of that death, he writes a fake suicide note and says that he committed suicide. And then suddenly everyone's bringing him things. He is a celebrity. He is well respected. He is going through the grief of losing a son that he didn't really like because the son was a bad person objectively. And then he starts profiting off of it. He writes a fake journal and starts selling that. And then he's finally like, it follows down the slippery slope. But the thing is, that movie is not marketed to teenagers and young people and being sold as a young adult novel to be taught in schools. It is not being shoved down with hashtags, hashtag you will be found. This is something that should be a dark comedic take in the same vein as Bat Boy even.
Or even at least just a dark take.
Yes, but it demands to be the teenager's musical.
It's it's surrounded with this like popcorn pop music, like this, just like it's so marketable, it feels like, and it's just, this is a story that should be, it should have darker tones to it. It should have more offbeat audience, and it's being marketed mainstream as like
inspirational story,
and it's like, this is not it.
Bree, are we off base here, like, for what we're describing this movie? Because I feel like that's how the movie was marketed. It felt like a teenager thing, but I feel like teenagers seeing it is very dangerous, and the same reason 13 Reasons Why was.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're off mark at all. No.
So, I mean, I think we were more fair to the show this time.
I do too.
And honestly, I feel like the reason we weren't fair last time is because, one, we were a newer show at the time.
It was our 8th episode. We weren't even in the double digits yet.
We were a newer show at the time, so we didn't really know what we were doing very much. We didn't know what we wanted to be. At that time, I think we were trying to be a little edgier and offbeat. And now we realize that we're a bit too mainstream to really do that. So, we kind of stopped with that, which,
it's for the best.
We've grown a bit, but
Both
also
of us, yes.
we kind of felt like, I think we kind of felt like what we were saying was self-evident. And I think I said that earlier, and I think we didn't really explain where we were coming from with it. We were just like,
no,
man, look at this plot. Isn't this freaking ridiculous that they did this? My God.
And then everyone's like, this is really emotional and really something that connects with me. And
and it's
that's
like,
just as fair.
Yeah. So I feel like we laid it out a bit better here, I hope.
What do you think, Bree?
At a base level, they touch on a lot of things that people deal with on a regular basis: grief, anxiety, depression, feeling like you're alone. And so maybe people give their own meaning to it or something along those lines. But I do have to agree that I don't think it is something that teenagers should see. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't like it. I assume that like you guys said, the movie is better than the stage show.
Well, better story-wise. I honestly don't know if we would consider it. I don't even know if I would consider it better than like in other ways, but
the first thing I texted Jesse when I got out of the movies, I was like, it had to be better than the stage show. Like, that was the one thing, because it didn't seem like the worst thing, but it was still pretty bad.
Let's say it's less what the fuck than the musical, and it's more like, oh, there's like deeper issues now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now it's like there's visual problems. I mean, you guys experienced some severe audio problems in your theater viewing, so and they also just do some shit where it's like, if you know the context, it's very clear what they're doing with the original material. Like, it's clear what they're doing to manipulate it into being more like a safer version of what they actually did. But, we don't have to convince. The thing is, with this episode, we don't have to convince people that the movie is bad. People already agree with us entirely. This is almost just us looking at the movie and why people say it's bad, and just reflecting that back onto, why didn't you think the stage show was bad?
And it's not a situation where it's like, the things that just worked on stage don't work on film. No, that's horseshit. That's a bullshit-ass lazy response.
Yeah. And also, for all you freaking goddamn people out there on Twitter, I know you're out there. I'm salty a little bit. No, the show is not bad because Evan does bad stuff. That is not what we're saying. My fucking God. So, there you go.
We're not fucking moralizers over here being like, he do bad things, so he bad person.
God damn. Next week, listen to us talk about Bat Boy. Where he literally murders like 3 people or whatever. Wait, come on. Get out of here. It's not about that.
That's a lazy response. We're going to get a response like, you guys didn't do your research. Fuck you.
God damn. Just read a book for this shit.
I did. And it made me more angry than I expected it to.
I've been drifting, I've been dreaming I would land upon the shore, to a haven, to a harbor that felt so far before. Well, today what felt so far away feels a little closer. For today it feels a little closer.
All right, you guys, what is our overall thoughts on the Dear Evan Hansen movie and our cheese rating? Bree, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to give Dear Evan Hansen a blue cheese because I don't really like blue cheese, but I'll eat it if I really have to.
You could have said just because of the color of his shirt.
And the color of his shirt. It wasn't great. I don't recommend it. There are better things out there.
And she's not biased. She's not like, oh, the musical's so bad. So there you go.
I like the songs. The songs are good. I'll give it that. Ben Platt has a great voice.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the movie.
The base of the story, I don't like. Don't lie to a grieving family. And go see an actual therapist.
Yeah, you're the therapist. That still fucks with me. We never see his therapist, so this can't be about mental health.
We never see his therapist.
It's the fucking crux of the movie. All right, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the movie did not make me like the show or the story any more than I did. I went into it thinking I wouldn't like it, which you can say makes me biased, but I mean, can you really blame me? Everybody said it was awful, and then I already didn't like it, so then I went to see it, and I still didn't like it, so okay.
We just like hating things. We love hating on things people like, Andrew. That's our favorite thing.
We love being super negative and mean to everything. Yeah.
I really hate being negative.
I feel like we're not even that negative most of the time.
No. People just like to say, because we have issues with something you like does not mean it's bad.
Yeah, I will say I do think Dear Evan Hansen is a genuinely bad show.
Yes.
And the movie is also genuinely bad. And I'm going to give it the same cheese rating that I gave the original show, which I believe was moldy cheese without the cheese, which is just mold.
That's such a good cheese rating. Dear Evan Hansen is bad. Dear Evan Hansen, the movie, makes a lot of changes that I can see on a surface level being better. However, if you think about it even for a second, it's kind of fucked up.
I mean, it's also ugly.
Yeah, and like they turn all their people of color into villains. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah. So we're nearly 2 hours into this fucking episode, and I still have more shit to say. But before I go on, because they talk about apple orchards and all that, I can only give this apple cheese, the sliceable sweet treat that's actually dairy-free. So I guess it's not really cheese if you think about it.
What the hell is it?
A delicious treat that's you can't beat.
Okay.
I want some apple cheese now. Guys, I think we did it. I think we talked about Dear Evan Hansen for the third time on this podcast. Can you believe it?
I am so fucking done with this show. And
we really don't want to talk about it.
The worst part is I know for a fact we're still going to get all the same fucking comments on this episode. Whatever. I'm done. We're done. This show is over. We're not talking about Dear Evan Hansen ever again. I don't care. They can release a sequel movie and we're not talking about it. I'm done with this fucking show.
Well, it's time for us to close the book on Dear Evan Hansen. It has defined so much of the first 170 so episodes of Musicals with Cheese and how we structure ourselves. We're done with it. It's time for us to move on. I think all of you should too.
Comment all you want about how we didn't get it and we didn't do our research and whatever. We're done. We're done.
This is a very, very mean episode now that we're here, but yeah, we're done.
I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing it. I'm done. I hate this fucking show.
I hope we explained ourselves well, and if we didn't, we await your video essay responses.
Yes. Go ahead and write your video essay on how great Dear Evan Hansen truly is.
Actually, Dear Evan Hansen is great. Hello, I am the musical critic. I remember it so you don't have to. You know, Dear Evan Hansen got a real bad rap.
But that's just slander, Jess. Okay, that's what it means.
You know who else is very, very mean?
Our wonderful patrons.
You got it. And Connor Murphy. Thank you guys for listening. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. We have a patron-only podcast called Patreon with Cheese. Go check it out. We're talking about a lot of fun stuff. I think we just talked about Everyone's Talking About Jamie and Co-op the Musical. Go check that out. We also did an episode on Cinderella. Our email is musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card was created by the amazing Jolene Casco. Go send her some love on Instagram at Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Thank you for listening to the end of this episode to write the cheese rating. Please let us know what Juliet, I want you to tweet what you thought of the episode right now. If you don't, I'm going to be mad at you. And I know you won't have listened this far. This show is produced by my literal favorite human being. I have missed you so fucking much, Brianna Jones. I love you to death. We're so glad you're back.
I miss you
This show
both.
did not feel the same without you, and we are so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be back. I miss you both. And your negative opinions and
Scathing reviews constantly.
scathing, catty and crass.
Catty
Oh, she said it!
and crass. It's about fucking time that comes back. That was my favorite one.
That was our first hater. That was our first hater.
Well, Mr. Catty, Mr. Crass. It's nice
Which
to
one's
see you.
catty and which one's crass?
I think I'm catty or crass.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I like it. I love that.
I do too. It's my favorite thing that at the time that was fucking mortifying. It's a very famous Broadway composer's publicist describing us that way, like, broke my heart. But now it's just funny.
I don't really care.
You didn't care, but I didn't want to make anyone mad. The theme song to this show, the horror one we're getting for October, because this is spooky times, was created by Robin Nash of IOU Music UK. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for implying that Evan tried to fuck his sister. My wonderful friends, we made it. Anything else left to say in our Dear Evan Hansen episode?
Apple cheese looks like coal. And that's all I have to say.
It does, you're right.
I just remembered we didn't talk about the book version of Dear Evan Hansen that came out, so we're going to actually have to do another episode.
Oh, no!
I'm not reading a book about Dear Evan Hansen.
I thought you were just saying I'm not going to read a book in general.
Oh, no.
I am not reading a book ever.
No, I'm not reading a Dear Evan Hansen book. I won't be able to get through it.
I did, and it sucks.
Oh, you actually read it?
I didn't read that. I read the book about how they made it, though.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm kidding, though. We're never talking about this again.
Yeah, we're
I
done.
don't
Dear
want
Evan
to.
Hansen is dead to us. And on that note, we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. All I see is cheese for forever. I am on my knees for forever. Hey, Andrew and Bree's for forever with you. 3 friends on a perfect day.